Welcome guys to the defending tutorial finally, and this is going to be part one of many because defending is one of the hardest things to do in FIFA. I think attacking is very easy, but everybody struggles with defending. Why? Because you don't actually know what your opponent is going to do at all times. So I'm going to do another in-depth analysis style video. We're going to go into it, and I'm going to be talking about the most common mistakes on defense, how to look through those, and how to avoid committing those mistakes. And then also we're going to be looking at how to correct these mistakes. But anyways guys, if you guys enjoy this style of video, let me know in the comments down below. I'll also upload more defending tutorials in the future and obviously do more in-depth analysis videos, so let me know what formations you guys want to see. But anyways guys, I'll see you as soon as we find the game. All right, so finally found the game in the elite division. So let's start off with most common mistakes here when defending. So most common mistakes when defending is pulling players out of position. Now what does pulling players out of position mean? Let's see if our opponent does it here. I mean, he does kind of pull player out of position, which is his fullback, but we're going to go ahead and give him the ball, and then we're going to go on defense. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposely make these mistakes. So a lot of times people see this over here and they will pull Maicon out of position, right? Me pulling this Maicon out of position now leads me here, and also I could pull out Saliba. I actually end up getting the ball because he gives it to me. But those are very common mistakes, and those are like kind of, I wouldn't say number one, but it's definitely like could fight for number one on biggest mistakes on defense, and the biggest way to concede. It's just pulling players out of position. Another thing is losing the ball in transition. So I'm gonna let him win the ball here. Or I guess the ref isn't going to let me, but over here, right, just getting the ball, right? If I get pressed or something and then I lose the ball here to Hansen, come on, bro, take it off me. There you go, right? We're out of position here. You see how he's got a counterattack? He's got so many players running by. It becomes a lot harder, right? I give him the ball, I lose it again, right? These are the most common. These two are the most common ways of conceding. So how do we avoid losing the ball right away? So one thing, as soon as we get the ball, let's not just spam pass, right? Let's look to make good passes, because again, here he wins it, right? I'm kind of struggling in pressure here. Play wide, right? Let's play wide, and let's take my space a little bit. Let go of sprint here in case he pulls his player out, right? And now we can kind of relax. Now we can breathe, right? We lose the ball up here. It's not as big of a deal. Obviously, we want to keep it as much as we possibly can, but our biggest thing is we don't want to lose it in our own half, right? Be patient. Don't just force and rush passes. When you force and rush passes, you're going to be in trouble. And it's just going to be, you know, very frustrating. We're going to go ahead and take this goal here because it is a defending tutorial. I'm going to be creating a lot of mistakes, and we still kind of want to win the game, you know, get that skill rating up so that we can be on the leaderboards. But again, right, another thing is just pulling players out of position, right? If I pull my center back out of position, he's got a very easy through ball. Obviously this one's offside, but you see how bad that is, right? I gave him a lot of space. We don't want to do that, so I'm just going to kick the ball all the way up the field again. So we want to avoid doing that. So how do we avoid doing that? Instead of dragging your players out of position, use your midfielders, right? Use your forwards. Be aggressive with these kind of players, right? You see here how I'm like defending the space. I'm defending the space and defending the run. Now I'm protecting passes, right? This is what you want to do. If you just start dragging players out of position mindlessly, you're going to be in trouble. See how he just passes it through me? Cover the passes, and people end up passing it through you usually, right? I then drag Maldini out of the way. He actually played this very well, but I didn't fully drag Maldini out of the way. I had a chance to defend it, but he actually, I wasn't expecting it, played it very patiently and played very well. Must have watched my attacking tutorial videos. The point is by pulling these players out of position, you give your opponents really easy goal. You're obviously still going to concede goals, so don't think that, oh, if I know how to defend, I'm not going to concede goals. Everyone's going to concede goals. There are some goals, for example, the one I just conceded, where my opponent just did such an excellent job that there really wasn't much I could do, right? And again, just be aggressive with kind of those midfielders, but not too aggressive, like pulling out of position. But you want to really defend with those players. A lot of people opt out. First thing they do is switch to their center backs and stuff like that, right? Which is really bad. Or if I go here and like kind of force him to pass to Hansen, please pass there, pull out Theo, right? By doing that, if he had taken a space, he'd be in a much better position. But here again, I'm 1v1 with the center backs, and it makes it very tough. Notice though how I didn't pull Maldini out of position. I just kind of pulled him back and waited. Wait and let your opponent dribble into you, or wait until your opponent picks a side and then you're able to win that ball off a tackle, right? Don't just mindlessly bring him out of position, or else he's just going to get a very easy goal again, right? You want to always make sure that you're either covering the pass, or if there isn't a pass, make sure that you're waiting so that he doesn't pull a player out of position. And as you can see there, I won the ball there with Henry. Don't be afraid to tackle, especially with your attackers. But you see here, instead of pulling my player out, I'm waiting here, right? I was aggressive. There we go. He's so far away. Now I'll switch to my midfielder, right? I can switch to Hullet here, right? Let's cover this pass. Let's cover this pass. There we go. Now I know where he's going. Then I can go at him and press him, right? Once I know where he's going to go, I can go. But before that, we want to make sure that he doesn't pass the ball in a more dangerous position, right? The whole idea of defending is we want to limit the opportunities that my opponent has and try to make him take the lowest probability situation that results in a goal. Like we want to like the lowest XG possible, essentially, like to make it in simpler terms, is what lowest XG situation can we get our opponents. Once again here, right? If we lose the ball in our own half, we're scrambling around, right? That's what you don't want to do, right? Take your time, right? Even take your space. Can we find the pass? Vitinha's open. Now we can play that pass. If it's not on, we can play it back. Press R1, trigger layout out. And then there we go. We're played out of our half now, right? And don't be afraid to make those first time passes. Everyone always takes touches sometimes. Don't be afraid to take a first time pass and play it out. See here, we're waiting for the through ball. You see, he panics and plays it through, right? This is Elite Division. And then again, I give him the ball, right? He doesn't know how to take advantage of it, but we're giving all of these dangerous positions when all we need to do is just relax. Take your time, take your time. All right, we're playing out now. We can play Mia Hamm here. We can play that first time pass, right? One touch football. Nice. All right. And now we're in this situation. Now it doesn't really matter if we lose the ball or not. But you see how he dragged his Theo out of position? By him dragging his Theo out of position, then dragging his Stom out of position, now I capitalize. So now that I'm learning, okay, I'm learning that these situations are the bad situations and the highest goal probability situations. I can also use that for attacking. I know this is a defensive video, but now I can use that for attacking. So now I know, okay, look, see how he pulls his player out of position? I take a little bit of a speed boost. If you haven't seen our speed boost tutorial, go ahead, right? And now he has more players out of position. I take that down the wing, right? Now we set up our corner play. Bang. I don't know why Henri did such a bad pass, but that probably should have been a goal. And that all comes from those little things. So even in Elite Division, people do these very common mistakes, right? Track this run. That's fine. All right, we're going to run. We're going to get that ball. Super simple, right? As soon as I realized he was sprinting all the way, we just drag our player back, right? It's always a good idea to just drag your player back. Just make sure that by dragging your player back, you're not opening his other striker or other forward open. But when you're dragging them back, most people will literally sprint into you. Or if they're going to do a speed boost, that's how you defend the speed boost. So a lot of people ask me, oh, how do you defend speed boost? Like, it's so overpowered, this and that. Just drag your center back a little bit further back, right? The reason the speed boost works is because you commit your center back too far to one side and then they just speed boost down the other. So again, keep it simple. It's the same thing almost with offense, how I say, like, you know, be patient, right? Take your time. The same thing kind of applies on defense. You want to just take your time and you want to kind of relax and take things a little bit slow, right? You can be aggressive with your forwards, especially with your forwards. Be really aggressive. Why? They don't come back anyway, so it doesn't matter if you move them out of position because they don't help you defensively. Midfielders, you want to be aggressive in terms of like trying to predict where he's going to pass and intercept it. Once he starts getting a little bit closer, though, we got to be a bit careful, right? With our center backs, a lot of people, they get stressed out because they've been moving all these players out of position really quickly, or they get just stressed out in general because like, oh my gosh, he's so close to my net, let me just sprint my players out of position, or let me spam tackle. Or the biggest one that I see is let me hold R1 and pray. By holding R1 and kind of praying, it drags two center backs out of the way. And like I said, you want to make sure your center backs are holding their shape, because if they're not, then they're going to get an easy pass through. So our opponents made some substitutions like you see here, guys, with a midfielder, right? We're covering. I'm not pulling Theo out of position, and he passes it straight to my midfield. That's great, right? And then be careful not to lose the ball in transition, especially everybody's using press. So just take your time, right? If you want to trigger your right wing or your right forward, whatever it is, in whatever formation you play, you just press R1 to drag him close. See, he lost the ball in transition, and now look where I am. Then he dragged his center back out of position. So now I'm in a position where I have numbers up, and I create a very dangerous opportunity. I didn't take it as well as I should have, but that's fine. The focus is defending. But look at all the opportunities I'm getting is either him giving me the ball or him pushing his fullbacks out of position, right? Very common mistakes, or his center backs, right? So these are the types of mistakes that not only you want to capitalize on offense, but these are the mistakes that you don't want to make. Because if you make these mistakes, you see how easy it is for me to attack, and I'm not even trying to score on this guy, right? So here I'm switching to my center back, right? Let me cover this run. Bang, he just passes it straight to me. Cover the run, right? What's the most obvious pass? He's probably going to end up passing there, right? Then we take our time, right? Take our time. We broke through his press, and now we're just kind of vibing. We're chilling, right? We can go up the field. You see how he's dragging his fullbacks out of position, right? He dragged his fullback out. Now he dragged his center back out. I made a bad pass, unfortunately, but I'm aggressive with my midfielder. Why? Because my forwards, midfielders, if you can get the ball higher up, you don't have to touch your center backs. You don't have to worry about it, right? People stress out as well. The higher you press them, the more they stress out. So if we can get the ball higher up the field, I'm very happy with that. That's usually what I like to do, because again, it's not easy to defend with your center backs. But again, he's pulling players out of position, and by him pulling players out of position, you know, there you go. He's pressing R1. If I could just turn away from him, hopefully, let's see if we can catch him into that mistake, right? If he's just holding R1 with 2 players, then he's gonna move players out of position. So again, here we are. He passes it straight to me, right? Because I'm not pulling my players out of position. I'm not giving it to him, right? You keep your defensive shape, and you're going to be in a very, very good position. All right. And we relax. You see how he's pulling his center back out? Like, this is so bad. He pulls his center back out, and I can almost just through ball straight through him, right? So again, let's try to intercept, right? I'm not going to drag Theo out of here, and he panics and he makes a bad pass. But you don't want to drag Theo in that situation. You want to drag your midfielder, or you pull your attacker back. I prefer the midfield because it kind of provides a little bit more of an instant press. What you don't want to do is pull Theo. You pull Theo, he's got a through pass down the wing to Hansen, and we all know how difficult it is to defend on the wings. And again, if you watch my attacking or in-depth analysis tutorials, then you're going to know those are the positions that we want to get into, and those are the most difficult positions to defend to set up that corner play that I always talk about. Again, we don't want to lose the ball in our half, right? Let's not make an unnecessary pass. There we go. Just by dribbling like this, we're kind of breaking out of the press. Can we find our striker? There we go. We've broken out of the press. I don't know what's up with Henry's passing today, but press tackle, be aggressive with tackle in front of his players. Tackling is very broken, guys. I'm not going to say spam tackle, but definitely press tackle a lot. If you're not winning the ball a lot, or if you're somebody who doesn't tackle, you need to be tackling a lot more often, right? Don't be like this guy who mindlessly tackles the air. But if you're near a player and you think you can win the ball, you got to press the tackle button, right? You see how R1 dragged his Theo out of position there, right? That's the kind of stuff that I want you guys to avoid doing. Unfortunately, it's offside, but it's just by holding R1, it presses players out of position. R1 is kind of a last resort thing, or if you're trying to like trap somebody. But again, here, right? I wait. That's fine. He plays that pass. That's okay. And he sprints it into me, right? I'm not panicking. I'm not moving players out of position. I just moved back, and then I just kind of went what direction he was going to go. And we read through that, right? There we go. See how he's just R1ing? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that pass, but the wing was fully over. Now I switch to my CDM. I'm not switching to my right back. Now I can switch to my right back. I just got to make sure. I got to watch this pass. Cover the center. Watch the pass. There we go. Switch to my Hullet. Make sure that he can't pass to any of these players. That's fine. Maybe switch to Zola. Right? Apply a little bit of pressure. That's okay. We just got to make sure that he's not able to play. And you see he's forced to go backwards. Now we can switch to Zola and we intercept it. If you have any questions about switching, guys, you got to practice right stick switching. That's what I use. L1, you have a lot less control, but I use right stick switching. I play on all default. If you want to see my settings tutorial, or sorry, my settings video, I have all my game settings on my YouTube as well. But right stick switching allows you to kind of do that stuff. But again, right, just dragging players out of position. He drags those players out of position, and now we can really take advantage of it. So he's making all the mistakes that I'm saying you should not make, and it's just his offense, I guess, that brings him to elite division. But this guy's an elite division player, right? Same thing. Got to make sure he's not tracking that run. There we go. I think I can win that ball. I can go tackle him. Why? Because he's so close to my center back. That's okay, right? We're going to kick the ball up and let him have a few more attacks so that we can kind of showcase this. But again, we want to be aggressive with our forwards, right? Our midfielders here. Be aggressive with the midfielders. All right, we can play wide. Go ahead. You can do that. Now I'll switch here. We got to make sure that we watch that pass, right? He probably wants to cut in. We got to make sure we watch it. There you go. Simple, right? Most people will cut in. That's fine. Your number one worry is to cover that pass. Why? Because the pass is in the middle. That's the most dangerous place on the field. That's where most goals are going to go. You got to make sure that you cover that. He presses R1. He gets a little bit lucky there with Theo, and then he gives me the ball back, and then we can easily get a free goal here, right? Nothing too crazy, but you see he's committing all the mistakes, so I'm very happy we played this guy that I said that you shouldn't be making on defense. And this is an elite division player, so everybody commits these errors. You just have to be very conscious and very patient about it, right? I'm not really doing anything crazy on offense. Here, take the ball off me. Have another go. I'm not gonna pass it. Go ahead. We just gotta, again, hold it. He sprints into me. Nice. Super easy. Please take it from me again. I'm not even trying to left stick. There we go. All right, we lose the ball in a pretty bad position. Again, he's just holding sprint. That's fine. We got to make sure I turn away from pressure and make sure that we don't lose the ball. For the most part, guys, defending is just being patient as well. Obviously, you got to be a little bit more aggressive in some situations, but for the most part is get nice and close to them. And then when you're nice and close to them, tackle. But the biggest thing, and I cannot stress this enough, and it happens with everybody, even pros make this mistake sometimes, is you don't want to pull your fullbacks out of position. Your center backs, you absolutely, number one, do not want to pull out of position, and don't be too aggressive with them. If you just drag them and sprint them out of position, that is how most of your goals are going to be conceded. Pay attention to it. I promise you, if you're somebody who gets through balled a lot, you're doing something tremendously wrong, because if you're getting through balled, it means you're pulling somebody out of position. Unless they're doing some crazy first time through ball, that's a whole different story. But I promise you, that's how you're conceding most of your goals. And really pay attention to how much you pull your fullbacks out of position. That is the number one thing that I see when I'm coaching people, and it's the biggest mistake that they make. But anyways, guys, if you guys have any questions, comment down below. I'll answer them as quickly as I can. And also let me know if there's anything specific that you want me to kind of look over more in the next defending tutorial that will be coming out soon as well. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon for team of the season. We're going to be uploading a ton, so I'm very excited for that. Anyways, guys, take care.